Hello, thank you for joining me. This is day 3 of 4 of the Reset Challenge. And today I'm joined with my good friend, Dominique Martindale. She is from Divine Fitness and Wellness. Dominique, thanks for being with us today and for imparting your wisdom into these lovely ladies that are going to be seeing this webinar. Tell us, because I don't know everything about you just yet, but tell us about your background, how you got started in the wellness and fitness industry, and about the new life coaching certification that you just received.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Courtney. Love to be part of this journey with you and starting this reset program and challenges for many of our wonderful individuals that are wanting to better themselves and creating a better life for themselves. First and utmost, I'm Dominique Martindale, proud owner of Divine Fitness and Wellness. I've been on this fitness journey. I'll be 39 years old soon. And age is just a number. It just depends on how you feel. But I've been on this fitness journey for about 30 something years. I find that fitness is plays a big role in my life. And I would say at least 90% of my life. It keeps me going, keeps me consistent. I got started very young at a young age, around 9 years old. My parents have gotten me into a lot of sports. I tend to grasp to basketball, volleyball, track, gymnastics, dance, leotards, you name it, everything. Unfortunately, I narrowed it down to basketball, and that was my specialty, and I received highest honors, and definitely got a full ride to a small Christian school in Illinois, is where I'm originally from, and now I am relocated in Florida. But in 2012, I tried out professionally for the WNBA. So I did have some goals that I wanted to reach, and nothing was going to stop me in my fitness journey. And so from there, I wanted to create myself and goals and for others, and wanted to help support others to reach their goals and destinations, and to help them manifest their journeys in life. So it's always been in my blood to let others know that what they're capable of doing. So I like helping others and creating a plan, and understanding that fitness is very important to help keep us young, motivated, having that consistency, discipline, whether they're with families and stuff like that. So fitness is never going to be outside of my blood. So it's very important for us to carry that on, whatever age we are. So that's huge. It's never going to go out of my life.
Yeah.
So now I'm an owner of I am a personal trainer. So I do train a lot of clients, and very blessed and thankful to, carry that with, my clients are my family. So I take them under my wing and train them and educate them in health and nutrition and fitness as well. So
That's
it's
awesome.
important. Yeah.
Going back to what you said about you had goals. You knew what you wanted to do. You tried out for a professional basketball team, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The
Correct.
WNBA. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, during that time, did you have any setbacks? Did you have any mental roadblocks telling you, like, kind of putting those thoughts in your head that maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I can't do this, maybe this isn't for me, what am I doing? I feel like a fraud. Did you ever have those thoughts?
I mean, of course, you always come back to your little shell, and you're always having those thoughts of an athlete and having that self-doubt internally. But being a very competitive athlete inside myself, and having that self-criticism, and I'm very competitive. I never wanted to give up, but I've had that self-doubt before and going into that transition and being at that level. Stepping foot onto that basketball court, knowing that I had to show up and to perform at a level that needed to succeed, and that I knew that I had to get that job done. Of course, I had setbacks, but once I stepped foot in that transition, I knew I had to get that job done. But there was always in that mind where I was like, I'm not sure if I can do this. You know, we're always in that mindset where we're always thinking. The mind can't change anything. Our thoughts can come in between of our actions, but at the same time, you know, it's what we can do physically. You know, our minds can kind of take over, but it's the actions that can overcome it and overpower it.
Yeah, so it really
You know what I mean?
becomes mind over matter at that
Correct.
point.
Yeah,
Sometimes
absolutely.
the mind does win. I will admit that.
Sometimes,
Sometimes it does win.
sometimes, yeah, unfortunately. And we can have
Yeah.
our down days too, but we just have to keep pushing forward and overcoming those.
So the point with these 4 days was really to take a step back, not only for me, but like everybody else that is participating, to take a step back, to pause, to be still, and to really think, where's my mindset at? What
Mhm.
needs to change? I know I want to get to um level 3, but I'm stuck at level 1 and I
Mhm.
don't know how to get there. I don't have the motivation. So it's really all about shifting the mindset, identifying those limiting beliefs, those hindering beliefs that are holding us back, that are holding us stagnant,
Mhm.
kind of trapped where we
Right,
are.
right.
And rewiring the brain to say, no, you know what? I am capable of doing, the things at level 3. I am capable, I am more than capable of getting out and moving every day, going on a walk every day. Despite the heat, Florida is extremely hot right now, but you
Hmm.
are out there every single day cranking it out.
Hmm.
I see you
Absolutely.
doing that. That's inspiring. So if
Yeah.
you can do that in the heat, we can do it, wherever we are in the world, in the US, wherever we are, whatever our situation is.
Mhm.
We have to make that mindset shift. We have to tell ourselves that we are worthy of getting to the next level, that we are capable of getting to the next level, that we are capable of achieving what we want to achieve.
Correct.
So
Right.
I think with age, it can go either way. I'll be 46 this year. And I look back at my 20s and I thought I had it really rough because I saw myself in the shape that I was in. I had an eating disorder. I was bulimic. I was working out all the time, eating very little. And then when I did eat, it was a ton of food, all crap food. And then I'm in the bathroom getting rid of it.
Hmm.
I had my mindset was very toxic. Um, but looking back at pictures, I was thin and I looked at myself in the mirror and saw that I was fat, that things were wrong with me.
Right.
And it was a little mindset shift. And back then I still wasn't in the best mindset frame, but
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I need to start, I want to start building muscle. I saw
Right.
something on the cover of a fitness magazine, and I'm like, I like that. I love that shape.
Right.
After a few years, that eating disorder, I was helped with that. That stopped. Um, and it was still having that war in the mind of, I'm always going to be fat. I'm always going to be this. I can't run. I can't do this. I can't do that. It was always the I can'ts.
Hmm.
And um, uh, I had muscle. I had abs. You could see my abs.
Hmm.
I had quads. I
That
had
picture you
calf
showed me.
muscles.
I remember that picture you showed me.
Yeah. And then it was as I got older,
Yeah,
I'm like, geez, I really didn't have it bad in my 20s,
right.
30s. Okay, things shifted. It's a new decade. Things are
Well,
going in a different direction. Now in my 40s, I feel a little bit wiser. I'm on a better path mentally, physically, just on a whole holistic level. I'm on a
right.
much better path.
Spiritually, emotionally. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm winning the mental war. My mind is not winning all of the time. I am getting out there and doing it. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Got it.
How so women when they're in their 20s working out, their bodies are probably functioning at an easier level than they are in their 30s or 40s.
Mhm.
So, what do you have to say for women that are in their 20s working out? What should they be focusing on compared to women that are in their 30s or 40s or beyond? Let's start there.
So when you're in your 20s, you're young, you're active, you're not really you're all about like cardio. You're running, you're going full steam ahead. You're basically eating the wrong kinds of foods, right? You're eating the carbs, you're eating all the fatty foods. You're probably not as educated in like the proteins, the visceral fats, the saturated fats. You're not really, you're still learning, right? So you're still, going over the motions, going through the motions. When you get into your 30s, you're more going into like more strength training, you're going into cardio training, you're having more set plans on certain days when you're doing certain types of body movements and body training. So like certain days you're doing strength training, certain days you're doing maybe Pilates or throwing in some classes, certain days you're doing yoga, certain days you're doing like anaerobic, certain days you're doing resistance training. So you're learning more about the body and what the body can train with, and you're starting to gain muscle, and maybe you're starting to take creatines, starting to take pre-workouts. Um, Also, like with the whole social media thing too, I want to throw that in there. Like we're in today's society, social media is really huge. Back in our 20s, it really wasn't big for me. Now that we're getting older, it's like, oh, I want to look like that person. I want to look like that person. But being out at like between 20s and 30s, you're transitioning. So you're having more goals and set plans and maybe writing down what you want to look like and what you want to build and maybe having, more of like a set plan throughout the week, right? So you're having like micro goals. Um, Maybe you're running 3, 4 times a week. It just depends on the individual, right? So you're having working with more machines. You're working maybe more with dumbbells, maybe kettlebells. I know I started doing that in my 30s. In my 20s, for myself, I was running more. But now that I'm in my 30s, I'm running even more, to be honest with you, because as much as I really hate running, I know it's good for me, but it might not be good for the next person, right? So, but I'm also running 4 or 5 times a week. When you start getting older, you want to have that consistency, maybe in your 40s, but maybe have more low intensity training, but you still want to keep that heart rate going. And in your 50s, still have that consistency, but maybe even lower intensity, keep that heart rate going, the blood levels. Obviously, when you go to the doctor, discuss your workouts, and cardiovascular training, anaerobics, still lift those weights because it's good for the heart. It's good for the health. It definitely decreases any heart issues or any health issues that you may be having. It just decreases anything, health wise, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
So let's talk about you had mentioned the micro goals, the smaller
Yeah,
goals. On the
yeah,
other side of that is I'd say
like
macro goals,
realistic, like
micro
the
macro.
realistic goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the realistic goals consist like long term, right? So this comes in, I just got certified as a life coach a couple weeks ago. So I learned a lot. So for myself, I set like micro goals, what I want for myself as not only as an individual, you know, but also as a personal trainer, as a wife, as a neighbor, as a friend. But you set yourself with micro goals, but as realistic goals, you want long-term goals. So maybe realistic goals would be, where do you want to see yourself in a year fitness wise? Do you want to lose 20 pounds? Do you want to see yourself creating um, a clothing line? Do you want to own a small gym? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to be in a size 4? Do you want to, I mean, whatever it can be. Do you want to eat better? Do you want to do you want to become vegan? Do you want to have more muscle mass? I mean, it can be literally anything. You know what I mean? Like realistically, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? Those are more realistic goals. So you got to have that vision board. You have to write it down, put it in that vision, make yourself write a letter saying that, like, write that vision and set it aside and say, hey, this is where you're going to be. This is, have that vision and make sure that you're going to be like, oh, this is, I'm sitting on a beach. This is where you're going to be. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And that's your vision. And that's what it comes to life. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen to people. And that's the vision that you're going to visualize yourself. And this happens. I see it all the time when people visualize that. If that, you know, if it's that,
Visualization, it does work. It does work.
it does.
Do you have a vision board? Do
I
you create
do.
those?
I do.
Do
Yeah.
you do it once for the entire year, or do you do it for like once a
You
quarter?
do that. So I made a vision for myself. You know, I have the micro goals. And then I also have a vision of where I want to be, where I'm exactly standing, whether it's a country, whether it's a beach, whether it's a state, whether it's a city. It could be a chair. It can be exactly where like birds are flying. I mean, it literally narrows it down to exactly where you're at, what you're doing, what you're wearing, who you're with,
Mhm.
what you have in your life, um, like what you want to accomplish. What is your vision as an individual? Whether you want to own a company, whether you want to have a clothing line, whether you want to have like, um, you know, workout, a clothing line, a shoe line, a socks line, you know,
Yeah,
anything that's your passion. So
yeah.
it's cool.
So one thing I love about vision boards is it gets the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay,
Endorphins.
what do I want for my life?
What's your purpose? Who
Purpose,
are
yeah.
you? Who are you?
Intention. Yep.
Yeah.
Putting it down. So God knows the desires of our heart. He
Right.
already has our lives mapped out. I think us making that vision board is putting it out there of things that we want, we desire for our lives. And God wants that for us.
Mhm.
The timing might not align with when we want it to align,
Mhm.
but it will happen. I do
Mhm.
believe that 100%. So vision
Mhm.
boards, I think, are excellent.
Mhm.
It gives clarity, it gives direction, and you just have to enjoy the journey along the way.
And have patience and know that it hasn't happened yet, and but it
Yes,
will. If you wake
yes,
up every day, work hard, and know that it will happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen right away, but it will.
yes. And I love that you said yet. I
Yes,
have
that is my
learned
favorite
to,
word. That's my favorite.
yeah, I saw that today on your story.
That is my favorite
Yet.
word.
That is something I've been working on. It, I'm not a runner yet.
Yet,
Yet.
but you will be.
Yeah. Yeah. I start off small. I love doing walk run intervals. Love that.
That's okay.
And that is my starting point. Everybody has a starting point. Nobody
Absolutely.
gets out there and just runs a
No,
mile or a 5K or a marathon.
trust
Everybody
me.
has a starting point.
Yeah, trust me.
So I love that word, yet, because that keeps the door open for what's coming next. Instead
Absolutely.
of instead of you closing that door on yourself, saying,
Right.
I'm not a runner. Okay, that door just closed. And now
Mhm.
anything beyond that, however great it may be, whatever opportunity may be presented to us, it's now closed. I'm not a runner yet. Keeping
Yes,
that door open, might be open a crack, might be wide open, but at least it's open.
correct.
So,
Yeah.
you had talked about lower intensity training.
Hmm.
So a lot of the fitness watches, I'm a Polar girl. I love my Polar watch. But with a lot of the fitness watches, they have the capability to show target heart training zones, correct? Do you have Apple?
I have Apple Watch.
Okay. So Apple, I know, does it as well.
Hmm.
Um, for lower intensity, for somebody um in their 40s, let's say their 40s, um, is lower intensity, should that be zone 2 or zone 3 training? From a lot of things that I've read, it really is targeting the zone 2, which
Correct.
you're able to sustain that training a lot longer
Uh-huh.
because of the lower intensity. You're cranking out more calories. And then after 20, 30 minutes, you're able to tap into the fat burning potential.
Correct. I agree. Zone 2 is very sufficient. I think you should stay in that because you're still getting the movement patterns and you can still work with like flexibility and mobility. Definitely you should, and I forgot to mention this, your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s still work on the mobility stretching before and after, just to keep that mobility going. And stretching is very, very, very crucial with fitness because it's good for the muscles, the mind, and your bones. You want to definitely keep all the juices going. So zone
Yeah.
2, definitely keep that. I agree with you. You know, the patterns, keep it consistent.
So every time somebody is walking, biking, any type of cardio,
Mhm.
should they really focus mainly on zone 2 each time they're doing that, whether it's 3, 4 times a week, or should they be mixing it up between zone 2, zone 3, maybe a
They
little zone 4?
they can mix it up. I mean, they can go from biking, swimming, Pilates, yoga. It's good to mix it up. You don't want to stay the same because it just depends on their heart rate. You still want to mix it. You don't want to be consistent because it's going to be like a flat road. So you're not necessarily going to have changes during that zone 2. So zone 2 to zone 3, I wouldn't necessarily go to zone 4, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Because
But
that
again,
gets
it depends on that fitness level and it depends on that individual of how fit they are, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can have a marathon runner who runs 6 days a week, that is in their 40s or 50s, that can do all those things and their health is great. Or you can have somebody that has underlying health issues that can just bike 3, 4 times a week, that can do biking and swimming and a little bit of Pilates or yoga. So you have to have that equal balance, but I would not do the same thing, you know, every day.
Yeah, okay.
Mix
Okay.
it up,
Okay. That's good.
definitely.
Um, so with talking about women in their 30s and then women in their 50s, and there's a drastic, that's like opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Mhm.
Um, what would be an ideal balance of strength training and cardio? Again, probably depending on each person, their activity level. But with women in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s. When does strength training become more of a priority?
So strength training in your 30s is very important, because you still want to be consistent, at least 3 to 4 days a week. You have the flexibility, mobility, the weight training, the resistance training, and aerobic. So that's easy. In your 30s, be consistent. In your 50s, obviously you have a little bit more responsibility. You have retirement coming. Possibly, hope so. You might have some grandkids, in their future. But you also want to decrease a lot of soreness, depending on, the bones. But you definitely want to, listen to your body a little bit more as you get older, to decrease a lot of soreness. And you want to just really be aware of what your body wants. Okay. So our bodies change every 7 years, no matter if you're male or female. Okay. So whether we are not feeling it that day, but maybe take light workouts, in your 50s, still continue lifting weights, strength training, but maybe a little bit lighter on the lighter side, because you still want to get your heart rate going. Whether it's maybe 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And something is better than nothing. Okay. So movement is better than no movement. I really do believe in a firm believer in that. It's very important to just keep going, whether it's taking a daily walk. But strength training, I definitely am a firm believer in that. So, I mean, you just really want to continue as we age, because strength training as we age becomes, the minute we stop strength training, we lose muscle mass, right? So the minute we stop, weightlifting, we lose muscle mass. So the elasticity in our arms, our legs start sagging, everything sags. And that's horrible, right? We
That's
have
what we're trying to
kids.
stay away from.
We have doing this. I don't have kids. I have fur babies. But if you don't want to lose the elasticity, do light weights and just keep the movement going. I'm a firm believer. But also, women in their 30s compared to our 50s, we come across menopause, right? So menopause is very important. So pre-menopause, or if you're going through that, depending on how many years you're going through it, I think we also lose. I know this from experience from training older women. We lose muscle mass. So focus on this early, and maintain strength. And again, just listen to the body, and,
Yeah.
and maybe use
Self-awareness.
resistance bands, and just be self-aware of what your body really wants, and just really be careful of, injuring yourself with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And rest days are really important too. Obviously, when we get older, it's not going to harm the body. Just get back into it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like from what
incorporate.
I've heard, people sometimes have that like the all or nothing mentality, that mindset. It's okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing this fitness plan. I'm all in. They're on fire. Couple days in, starting to fade out. It starts to become, more of a flicker. And
Mhm.
then if something happens and they're not able to be flexible, they miss a
Mhm.
workout. They might miss
Mhm.
the next day. Then that motivation really takes a dip because the mindset has not shifted. They're
Mhm.
looking for just that constant motivation, and it's either all or nothing. And if you're depending on that motivation
Mhm.
to sustain you and to keep you going, life isn't perfect. You're going to have things that come up. You have to remain flexible.
Right.
Um, and I just went off on a tangent. Remind me where I was going. My mind does
So
this.
so the motivation, we're like all or nothing.
Oh,
So when we're on track, we're good, but then we start falling off the track
yeah.
and we're not having that motivation. So I I used to get like that. So for me, um, we go through phases. We have our peaks, we have our valleys, right? So being an athlete, being a trainer, I have my days where I'm like, I have to work out, but I don't want to work out. I don't want to do it. I I just don't. But I'm gonna do it. But there are days where I don't work out and I feel so guilty. I feel depressed. I feel like I'm like a loser. But you know what? At the same time, you have to listen to your body. So, and then the next day, but there are people where they consistently go day after day after day after day where they don't work out. So they lose that excitement. So the all or nothing is true. I've seen it. Maybe what's best is like maybe it could be your music. Maybe change the activity. Maybe call a friend. Maybe start reading some positive affirmations. Maybe start journaling. Maybe start having different motivations of having to exercise. It's literally in your brain, it's in your mind. Like, what can I do to change? How can I change my way of thinking of how can I exercise? How can I be positive? How can I make it fun? Can I call a friend to exercise? Can I call a family member? I mean, it can be little things that can be appealing to yourself. I mean, you
Yeah.
just have to find it from within. If you really want to change your life, you're gonna do what it is, and you're gonna do what it takes to do it, to
Right.
get that drive. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I love
If
that you gave those tips too, those strategies of,
music for
you
me
feel that
changes
flame.
me, you got to feel it. You got to feel that fire, that
Yeah.
itch.
Yep. Yep. I love
And
that.
it can also be the food that you're eating too that cannot motivate you. I mean, the comfort food, you can't do that. You can't be, the pizza, the pasta, the carbs. It can't be the comfort food because that can get you away from getting motivated too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
the
It'll
holistic.
put you into a food coma is what it'll
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
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 And then you don't feel like doing anything except unbutton your top button.
I know. I know.
So I know I'm not the only one that has done that. So
I'll be the second.
yeah. We are almost out of time, but
Yeah.
real quick, we have a few minutes left. I have been reading a few things, a few different articles on women's training and correlation to the menstrual cycle.
Mm.
Is there does it matter? Should women during different phases of the cycle each month, should they take those breaks? Should they be doing different sort of exercises?
So each woman is different, right? How their cycles come and go. Light and core strengthening exercising are great during your menstrual cycle. Sometimes yoga, swimming, running, Pilates, would be something good for you, just depending on the individual. Low intensity training would be good. Just again, listen to your body. It just depends on the cramps that you're having. Honestly, for me, playing basketball for over 20 years, running is good for me, even though I have to be consistent with my activities. So when I'm very active, it's good for me. If I'm sitting on the couch and I'm not doing anything, the cramps are really bad. So I have to be doing something. The heat doesn't help, unfortunately, in Florida. But being an athlete, I've been running my whole life, chasing after a basketball. And I'm just used to it. So someone that's not used to being an athlete, again, just listen to your body. But again, maybe low intensity training would be good. And just depending on the core resistance training, just stay with that. If that,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we, like I said, we're almost out of time. What are your socials? If somebody wants to follow you, if they have other questions for you, if they want to know a little bit more of things that we've talked about, how can they get a hold of you?
I am on Instagram. It's Divine Fitness and Wellness. It's all lowercase. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask or DM me. I'm also on Facebook as well. I'm in Southwest Florida. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, fitness wise. And just feel free to just connect, and we're friends. Like, we're in a great community, and more than happy to share my experience. And if you have any just life experiences as well and you'd like to reach out, I'm more than happy to help out as well.
That's
Definitely.
awesome. That's awesome. Dominique, thank you for joining us today. I
Thanks for
really
having
am
me.
grateful for your time. I think
Yes.
you've given us more than enough valuable nuggets here. It was I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this because we talked about a lot of different things. You really dove into some topics a little bit deeper than others. I feel like we could go for probably another hour or two. I mean,
Yeah.
there's with fitness, it's just there's so many different avenues. It's
Mhm.
very broad. But I feel like I would like to do another webinar with you
Sure.
and maybe tailor it down to something more specific, um,
Mhm.
and uh, and focus on that, or maybe do like a three-part series where we talk about one topic, one webinar, another webinar, we're talking about another topic, diving a little bit deeper in, and just kind of building on that. I think that would be excellent. But thank you
Let's
so
do it.
much for being with us today.
Thank you so
If
much,
anybody
Courtney.
has any questions, reach out to Dominique. She is always willing, more than willing to help. She has a heart of gold, and she will encourage and uplift and help you to get where you want in life and
Yes.
to help you meet your goals.
Yes. Absolutely. Thanks. Thanks so much.
All right,
Have a
thanks.
wonderful day.
Talk soon.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Dominique.